Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Stuart E. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Morius Swerdlow.
And Jade Sverdlov from Siberia.
Yes.
Who always likes to make an appearance on our podcast because he feels that all of the propaganda against Russians is incorrect, and he's there to prove that it's wrong.
Yeah, and he's the one that likes to sing in the background that you hear.
And of course, he's also upset that people don't like white males. And of course, he's a white male, so he's very disturbed about all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully we can get through this without whining and crying. And
like you usually do?
Yes, and the dogs too. Anyway, I have a lot of things to say, and my shirt says a lot of what I want to say in the beginning, and this actually came from a local person who supports us, who dropped it in our mailbox and told me to go look what he brought me. So we have a lot of support even here in Little St. Joseph. And we even had recently the principal of a local religious school come and tell us how much she loves us and blah, blah, blah.
We did?
Yes, we did. Just the other day she came with her teachers and her
Oh, yeah,
office.
yeah.
And so that was very lovely as well.
Yes.
Yeah. If only everyone in the world would be like that.
Yes.
Drop presents in my mailbox, come and say how much they love me and blah, blah. I wish you would do that. Anyway, two things I just want to say up front before I get to the actual news. First of all, there have been comments on the podcast and on other videos I've done, let's say with even Laura Eisenhower, where I had mentioned that there are no more chemtrails in the United States. And even here in Michigan, skies are perfectly clear. I haven't seen a chemtrail in over a year. And many people have been telling me this all over. And others, oh no, you're not telling the truth, and we see chemtrails every day in Phoenix and North Carolina, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I posted on the links of this podcast, and I specifically wrote next to them chemtrails. They're both articles and videos that I want you to read and watch, which describe from President Trump and from SB2 and from Q, whether you believe in them or not, and they state pointedly, there are no more chemtrails being sprayed. However, there are some areas where they are using the Air Force to spray items to reduce and eliminate the toxin residual of what the chemtrails have left. And so sometimes they might look like a chemtrail, but they are not chemtrails. I will state that categorically. You can believe it or not believe it. Next thing is there have been a lot of people, not a lot, but a few, who are offended by my statements about Zionism in Israel and why I'm defending them, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you want to believe Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and the Democrats who are known as demon crap, and believe all their iterations, and if you want to believe the 1970s and 80s and 90s United Nations votes by Muslim countries and communist countries that call it racism, you want to accept that? Then you're up the butt of the deep state. I'm going to tell you the truth, and it may be offensive to you. I'm sorry, I don't care if you're offended. Truth is the truth. And I'm not going to be like Joe Biden and say, well, truth is more important than facts. They're the same thing, old person, who needs to go back to his nursing home, Mr. Biden, who didn't know whether he was in Vermont or New Hampshire, and so on. He goes on and on and on. These are the people you're listening to, then you should not be listening to my podcast. I will tell you the truth. You can accept it or reject it. Doesn't change the fact that it's true.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to say is that no matter how many times we say it, people keep sending in Q's and A's on YouTube and Facebook.
I'm not answering your Q's and A's. I'm not going to argue with you. You know what? These two books that are coming out, which you'll mention a little bit later, they explain everything in detail. And
the other thing I want to tell you too, Blue Blood, True Blood. If you like aliens and you like galactic history, this is what you want to watch or what you want to read. And then you also want to read True World History, that follows.
Jasmine likes that book.
Yeah, and this one is Montauk Alien Connection, which is about Stuart's autobiography. So there's a lot of things that we have available for you to read if you want to know about us. And we have their website membership, less than $1 a day, www.expansions.com. So if you want to know about us, you want to have a Q&A, that's where the serious people go. Not just drop your little comments and leave on the YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah. You know, you want to be angry, remember something. You see in others what exists inside of you.
Yeah.
You want to call names, you want to say things, that's because it's from within yourself. And if you want to learn, read my books, watch my videos.
And get a membership, less than $1
So
a day.
here
No
is
excuses.
a warning right now, a truth warning, that I'm going to be giving you really blatant truths today, more so than ever before. So if you're not willing to hear it, turn off your computer now. So here we go. First amazing story. CNN announced this past week that it has hired disgraced FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who was fired by the FBI for lying and eliciting criticism, and that's who they hired. Why? Because CNN likes to lie. McCabe was fired by the FBI in March 2018, just hours before he was set to retire with a pension. So I guess he's a little bit angry at
I guess so.
everybody. And the Department of Justice Inspector General report found that he lacked candor, means he's a liar, including under oath over the revelation that he leaked to the media. So he told lies to the media as well.
Well, that's not uncommon, is it?
Well, now CNN is using them to lie to the public. Brilliant, CNN. And this comes after CNN had a couple of weeks where their network had issues. For example, their reporter April Ryan's bodyguard was charged with assaulting a journalist. Chris Cuomo threatened to throw a man down a flight of stairs for calling him Frito, or Fredo,
I thought I heard that.
which I like Alfredo.
Yeah, I know
I
you do.
like
I'm
Alfredo.
not
I don't know
so
why.
fond of it.
I'd want him to make it for me.
Yeah.
And my favorite one was a lawsuit filed against Don Lemon, that brainiac, over sexual assault allegations for which there are witnesses, and that was in the Hamptons. So I'm waiting for Mr. Smug Cooper Anderson to have things thrown about him out there, because with his fake black rimmed glasses to make him look smarter, which never happened. And Don Lemon does the same thing. I should wear those black.
Me too. We could both wear them.
Yeah, they probably have no glass in them or anything. Anyway, that's my opinion on that. And Representative Mark Meadows, who's a Republican from North Carolina, said that Andrew McCabe, fired for lying to the FBI, caught by the Inspector General for unauthorized media leaks, and worst of all, one of the ringleaders in spreading the debunked and disastrous Russian collusion, covered the dog's ears, conspiracy theory. His reward? A paid CNN contract. Comical. And so, by the way, if you look up online, you will find that there are at least 20 other CNN reporters that have been hired after being accused of crimes or fired for inappropriate statements or behaviors by government officials. Speaking of people who lie in the government, my favorite person that I talk about,
I can only guess.
Ilwind Omar, 37 years old, Miss Muslim proper, is accused of having an affair with an aide, Tim Minette, who is now being divorced by his estranged wife, Dr. Beth Jordan Minette. He was seen dining and holding hands with Omar at a secluded Italian restaurant in Playa del Rey, California this March. His almost ex-wife, Beth Jordan Minette, says in the divorce documents that he told her in April that he and Omar were romantically involved and he was in love with her. Does he have eyes? Does he have ears to listen? Anyway, she thinks it could have been going on for a year. And it's been reported in July that Omar had split with her husband, Ahmed Hirsi, who's the father of her 3 children. And although they don't know exactly when they split.
Omar never answers any questions.
I'm about to say that.
About anything
So listen,
personal.
Omar continued to dodge the questions about her tangled private life, denying she had separated, which is a lie. And she also called the accusations stupid.
But they shed pictures of her.
Yeah,
They
I know.
have proof.
I know. And Minette is a campaign fundraising expert, previously worked for Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison. Omar's campaign has paid Minette's company, called E Street Group, $200,000 $150,000 in consulting fees and travel expenses just in 1 year. Maybe I'll work for her.
We could do that. Well,
I'll work for her.
Yeah.
I'll hold her hand in an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, then I'll come and get you.
Yeah, we'll just get her with her Nefertiti hat. Pull that. I want to see what's underneath there. Pull that hat off. Anyway, she denied being separated again from her husband and refused to comment further on personal matters, according to reporter at Minneapolis Television. And she states, and I quote, "I have no interest in allowing the conversation about my personal life to continue, and so I have no desire to discuss it." Yeah, you have no desire to discuss it, you're a freaking liar. Now, here's what Miss Omar should know, since she claims to be a Muslim, and you know, even though she wears makeup and she's a fake Muslim, but if she wears a hijab, which she decides, like every few days she'll wear like a Muslim hijab so that people remember. Otherwise, she wears like a regular dress with earrings and blah blah. So she's not consistent. Her handlers need to look at that. But wearing a hijab is a sign of Sharia law or compliance, and that means that because she has committed adultery, Ilhan Omar could be stoned to death under Islamic law. And according to the Caliph Umar, one of Muhammad's closest companions, he said that this is in the Quran.
I'm wondering if they talk about her over there. You know,
Yeah,
like
they
in
probably
their
laugh.
news.
Look what she looked at. She's duped all those stupid Americans. Look at that. Yeah, they
But
probably laugh
now,
a
if
lot
she's
about her.
breaking their laws, now
Well,
what are they
it
gonna
says
do?
that if she were to be sent back to the country of her birth, she would be required to be put to death. I think we should send her back to Somalia.
Well, maybe that's what she's doing, so she can't be sent back.
So if she is deported to Somalia, she will be stoned to death. How's that for human rights to her friend Rash Idea Talib? I think we would send her to
I
Somalia
think
too.
it's all just crazy.
And it gets worse, because here's one of her supporters, Yasir Hadi, a prominent American imam and a college professor at Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. And in 2011, he said to New York Times Magazine, they said he was one of the most influential conservative clerics in American Islam. So this is what the conservative imam said. He said that Christians and Jews are the filthy and impure and basically no different than feces and urine. He claimed if Christians and Jews don't convert to Islam, their life and property are halal or free for the taking by the Muslims. Sounds like a really nice guy.
So is that what this lady believes in, this Omar?
Well, that's one of her supporters.
Or does she only believe in what she decides to
She
believe
does
in at the moment?
At the moment, and then if she doesn't like it, she says it's just stupid. They're not going to discuss it. Isn't that interesting?
It's a good way to avoid
So
the
it
truth.
sounds like a really peaceful, tolerant religion to me. What do you think, Ilan? Should you go back to Somalia, knowing now that you've committed adultery and could be stoned to death by your own people? Brilliant. Again, another topic that makes me livid. Hundreds of African migrants are finding themselves trapped in Mexico's southern border region after new immigration rules no longer allow them safe passage to the U.S.
How did they get here from Africa?
I'm going to explain. Will you stop asking questions?
Well, it just doesn't make any
Will you
sense
just calm
to me.
yourself down?
Doesn't make any sense.
My gosh.
Maybe I need to wear that shirt.
Maybe you need, you need to do something else over here maybe a little bit, and then I'll take it off when you can speak.
Yeah.
So,
Sexist.
Thank you. So, a Cameroonian migrant, whose name is Esteban Azu, who's 37 years old, said he paid human smugglers $8,000 to get him into the U.S. Okay, he's from the Cameroon. Where the frick did he get $8,000?
That's what I was going to say.
And if he had $8,000 in the Cameroon, he could live there like a billionaire.
All right, so why would he want
Exactly. He said his journey took, listen to this. You think I travel a lot? His journey took him to Turkey, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, and finally to Mexico. So who paid for that? That's even before he gave the $8,000 to those smugglers in Mexico.
Doesn't even make any sense.
He said, I left Cameroon and went directly to Ecuador. Well, no,
Doesn't sound like it.
because you just said you went to Turkey and Colombia and those other places first. And then he said here's where it gets dramatic to make you cry. He says, from there, he said, I climbed mountains, walked through the jungle to find this S-H-I-T. And he says, this S-H-I-T, they don't feed me. They don't give me anything. I'm very angry with the government of Mexico. This is not normal. This is bullshit. We need a solution. We just want to get out of here. Why is Mexico responsible to feed you? Did they tell you to come? Did they invite you?
Did you give them the $8,000?
Yeah, give them the freaking $8,000 and they'll give you some food. Okay? And maybe a ticket back to the Cameroon where you belong. Whoever gave the $8,000 can give you another $8,000 so you could live like a king in Cameroon. I've been to Cameroon. Believe you could buy a house for 10 cents. Okay? Anyway, Mexican immigration authorities reported that 3,712 people from Africa appeared between January and June of 2019. The majority of these came from Cameroon, and the rest mostly from the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
That's a long ways from home.
Yeah, they just appeared. Who made them appear? And then in the Del Rio sector, hundreds of African migrants gathered near an international bridge in Nuevo Laredo in Tamaulipas to protest not being allowed entry to the U.S. through a legal port of entry. So like if I went to the Russian border, like let's say with Lithuania, and I demand to be let in, why can't I come in?
And then they should feed you.
Yeah, and feed me and give me money. What's wrong with that? You don't hear this stuff in Russia
I wouldn't
or Eastern.
imagine.
Trust me,
No.
they were like,
Right.
get lost.
Those people would be dead.
Take a hike.
Those people would be dead.
Right. So if he had $8,000, why wouldn't he just stay in Cameroon and live like a king in Africa?
I would do that.
I would. If I had $8,000 to go in those countries, of course you buy all the things. But anyway, here's another brilliant person, presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke, who's, by the way, his real name is Robert.
I was gonna say it's not his real name.
Yeah, so we'll call him Robert O'Rourke. He told voters that women should be free to request an abortion up until 24 hours before childbirth, no questions asked.
That's terrible.
I wish his mother had had that option.
That's what's called murder.
Yeah, it's called murder.
Murder.
And so someone said to him, so my question is this. I was born September 8th, 1989, and I want to know if you think on September 7th, 1989, my life had no value.
How did he answer?
Oh, he's talking about women's rights to have medical care. See, he's just, he looks like a brain-dead stick figure.
I think if a woman wants to abort her baby a few hours before it's born, that woman needs mental health.
And anyone who supports that needs to be imprisoned for murder.
Terrible.
Anyway, he's kissing up the butts to every imaginable group that you can imagine so he can get support. But thankfully, he has less than 1% support, even among the demon craps. Okay? And speaking of the demon crap party, they have gone into a new level of what is called evil madness, revealing their true communist and fascist nature, their Christophobia, their hatred of America, their anti-Semitism, and their still devolving platform, which is insane, which clearly means to destroy, not just enslave, the United States. And let's bear in mind, we already have a dangerous national debt and continued deficit spending and open borders that allow a literal invasion by hordes of people who despise us and want to turn America into an overpopulated third world hellhole, which it's becoming. They want the border completely erased, an additional billion or more invaders to speed up the entry. They want free college for everyone, erasing college debt, unlimited governmental health care for everyone, and we can't even afford what we have now. So not only will it collapse the economy, it will destroy the United States. And these, what they are calling Christophobic leftists, adore the Muslim fundamentalists, oppress women, and hate Christians and Jews, and everyone else and each other. And they want to invite more of them in, and to release those thieves, rapists, drug dealers, and murderers who are now in prison, and of course, to disarm everybody else. What could go wrong? And so here's the question which I ask everyone. Why would white voters
or whites vote for a party that hates them? Why would Jews vote for anti-Semites? Why would men vote for a party that condemns men for being men and being white? And here's the interesting part. The Democrat Party is controlled by old white men. Very interesting. And so not only do they want the destruction of America, of Western civilization, but really of humanity. The schools have dumbed down and morally degraded and brainwashed the last 2 generations, so they just believe everything that they're told. These people are mostly verbal and symbol-oriented, which is what Q has mentioned. He said their symbols will betray them. They control the media and produce a great volume of superficially appealing rhetoric, and they are the masters of big lies like global warming hoax. And radical statements, yes, but it's true. There's no time to mince words. So people know, how come I decided to say this? I haven't changed what I believe. I'm telling you, this is the truth. I've never not believed what I've said before.
We've been saying these things for decades now.
Yes, you just never listen to me. And even so, people read my work, listen to me, and then they say something like, I never said that. They twisted it around. Like, why did Stuart say blah, blah, blah? No, I didn't. You don't understand what I said. Anyway, speaking of the global warming hoax, over 30,000 scientists say that catastrophic man-made global warming is a complete hoax and a science lie. Numerous recent scientific findings indicate that there's no warming trend for at least 2 decades, at least. Al Gore's predictions of the melting polar ice on a massive scale have not happened, that he predicted 10 years ago. In fact, in 2014, they said that it was the hottest year ever in Earth's history, but there were records amount of ice reported in Antarctica, an increase in Arctic ice, and record snowfall across the globe. So how could that have been the record warming? Tell me how that's possible. How can you heat up a globe and it gets ice? Tell me that.
It's a scientific secret.
Yeah. And more than 31,000 American scientists so far have signed a petition challenging the climate change narrative, and over 9,000 of them hold PhDs in their respective fields. Most of those scientists who signed the petition were likely encouraged to speak out in favor of the truth after retired senior NASA atmospheric scientist John L. Casey revealed that solar cycles are responsible for warming periods on Earth and not human activity. Now, there's another atmospheric scientist called John Christie who developed a global temperature record of the lower atmosphere using highly accurate satellite soundings, and NASA honored him for his achievements. And he made a report to the United Nations in 2017 that basically said climate models have failed badly. But the most reliable observations are made by satellites and weather balloons over the vast tropics. And here's the problem, is that when they read the climate heating in the atmosphere, it was not at all what was predicted. And most of the Earth's agriculture depends on the transfer of moisture from the tropics to temperate zones. And they're not looking at surface temperatures, which are measured by thermometers at weather stations. They're looking at things in the atmosphere. So why didn't they look at what's on the ground where people live? And that's because the records on the ground have been badly compromised. First of all, this is very interesting. When they do the ocean readings, they send the ships out to do the temperature. The water temperatures in the oceans are gone up 1 billion degrees. Well, that's because it depends on the size of the ship and how deep the intake tube is on the steel ships that are warmed tremendously by sunny, hot conditions. And then they bring up hot water because it was heated by the ship. And so that puts artificial warming in the data. The next big problem is in the Arctic Ocean. In the ocean, there are no weather stations. And so they use stations on land, which runs afoul of basic physics. because even in warm summers, there is plenty of ice all over the Arctic Ocean. And the sea ice, even though in the summer it's minimal, it extends all the way down to Greenland's east coast. And as it mixes with the water, it keeps the temperature at the freezing point all the time. So when they take the temperature on land, where the sun is beating down on it, it adds non-existing warming to the record. And isn't it interesting? They always show pictures of open water in the Arctic in July. They don't have it in January or February when it's frozen solid like it always is.
Well, January, and is there...
And here's the other thing. I always say, oh, the Africa is heating up. All the tropical climates are going to burn up. Why? Because the thermometers there are housed in standardized instrument shelters, which are kept at a specific shade of white. However, in poor countries, that is not often happening, and they're not repainted. So the stations are darker, absorb more of the sun's energy, and therefore create a higher temperature in the building where it's taken. Brilliant. But here we are coming to real information. Winter 2019 to 2020 here in Northern America. Well, the Farmer's Almanac just released its extended forecast and predicts a polar coaster.
They always come up with some new name of something.
And it said it's just as bad as this, and we've had that every
Last time
year.
it was polar vortex, now it's a polar coaster.
Yeah, he said the extended forecast is calling for yet another freezing, frigid, frosty winter for 2/3 of the country. Last year's prediction called for long, snowy winter, and unfortunately, it turned out to be true because we had snow till almost May. The Farmer's Almanac promises the upcoming season will be another wild ride with frigid temperatures, hefty snowfalls for a majority of the country. And here are the things to look for to prove this. Thicker corn husks. Have you found that? You haven't found that? Well, you look.
I don't know what a thick corn husk is. They're all the same to me.
Woodpecker sharing a tree.
Yeah, when I was out looking for woodpeckers, I saw like 6 of them in one hole.
The early arrival of the snowy owl.
Yeah, the snowy owl was up there waving to the woodpeckers.
That adorable. Yeah. Early departure of geese and ducks. I haven't seen any. They must have gone.
I saw some actually.
You did?
Yeah.
You better tell them to get going.
But I don't know if they were coming or going.
Early migration of the monarch butterfly. I haven't seen
any of those.
Thick hair on the nape of a cow's neck.
All the cows in our ravine, I guess, have thick hair.
Yeah, we have to go check that.
Yeah.
Heavy and numerous fogs during August. Well, we did have
We
that.
had a few fogs.
We have a lot of fogs here. Raccoons with thick tails and bright bands.
Maybe.
Mice chewing furiously to get in your home.
That
we do.
Our cats have been very busy.
Yes, and I have found them headless in the basement, by the way. The early arrival of crickets on the hearth. Do we have a hearth?
Maybe it means earth.
It says hearth.
Hearth.
Spiders spinning larger than usual webs and entering the house and bringing. I just noticed a huge web. In fact, by the fence, I was scooping some dog poopies, and there was a spider like right.
So did you get rid of it?
No, I ran and screamed like a girl. Pigs.
I'm a girl, and I would have killed it.
Pigs gathering sticks.
Oh yeah. Did
are pigs gathering sticks?
Were you gathering sticks?
Ooh, you are so in trouble. Ants marching in a line rather than meandering.
Oh, yeah.
We had that in our kitchen, actually. Early seclusion of bees within the hive.
How do we know?
We
haven't seen them.
Unusual abundance of acorns? Not yet. Too early for that. Muskrats burrowing holes high in the riverbank. Well, when you were, doing the laundry down at the river, did you see muskrats?
Yeah, a lot of them. They were burrowing into the hive high in the river.
And then it says, see how high the hornet's nest. 'Twill tell you how high the snow will rest.
I haven't even seen many hornets this year, thank goodness.
So they're always up high anyway.
Yeah,
Squirrels gathering nuts early to fortify against a hard winter. The size of an orange band on the woolly bear or woolly caterpillar. And finally, frequent halos or rings around the sun or moon forecast numerous snowfall. And I have seen that actually. Now, many people are writing into me, as you know, about the fires on the Amazon and the world is going to catch on fire, blah, blah, blah. Well, there are thousands of fires that are continually burning across the earth every year and every day. And they always have. And for the last 20 years, you will not see much of a change, except that fires are worse in some places and better in others, depending on the year.
Which is kind of what you said last time.
So why does it look like the whole earth is on fire from the maps? And you'll see them on the links that you have. And that's a good question. It's an exaggeration of the true size of what's burning, and the data is actually composed of warm pixels. You used to bake warm pixels. We have them sometimes with our dinner. Yeah. The satellites detect what it thinks could be a wildfire based on a temperature. So you're not looking at actual fires, you're looking at pixels, which represent the number of satellite detected fires within 1,000 square kilometer area of a location, and that can be represented with even smaller pixels, but if you zoom out, you won't be able to see them. Now, you can also see smoke from space, but because it thins out and drifts into other areas, it makes it look like the fire is low, but it's not. That's just smoke flying around from the original one. But the media is getting that wrong. For example, journalists were looking at thunderstorms overnight on a satellite image, mistook the storms for wildfire smoke, and this was given to all the media outlets around the world.
Well, we had a person who wrote in from Brazil on...
And then she said, that's not what's going on, and I'm in Brazil.
Right, she corroborated the information that we have.
Yeah, and so there are fires in South America. Some of them are in the Amazon rainforest. But here's interesting, and this is on NASA. NASA said, as of August 16th, 2019, so it's a couple weeks ago, satellite observations indicated that total fire activity in the Amazon basin was slightly below average in comparison to the last 15 years.
Which is kind of what you had said last week.
And they also said that a lot of the land may have not even been in the rainforest. If you look at the extreme close-ups on the satellites, what you see burning was agricultural fields on land that had already been cleared, which is a common practice. And if you really looked, you could see you could see that there's trees on both sides, a good, nice field, and then a little strip of fire in between that the farmers were doing. And then CNN says, oh, look, the world's on fire. And basically, majority of these fires were set by farmers preparing the Amazon adjacent farmland for next year's crops and pastures. It's another scam on the earth. Brazil and surrounding nations can take care of their own land without EU and Mr. Macron imposing their will.
Well, Mr. Macron is upset because...
Yeah, he wants the EU to come in and fight the fires and blah, blah, blah.
Because the Brazilian president made some bad comment about his wife.
Yeah, but it was true.
Was it?
Yeah, it was real true.
No, well, anyway, he was upset.
So, poor little boy Macron, maybe mommy should go, oh, I'm so sorry, Emmanuel, that they made fun of you.
No,
of course she would say,
no, they made fun of her.
Yeah, but they make fun of him. Anyway, they would say it in French, not like that. So, speaking of such things, what's going on in the world? Anak Krakatau, the volcano in Indonesia, has erupted and now is in a code red. What happened to Daddy Krakatoa in the 1800s? Global winter for years.
Ice Age.
The Stromboli volcano in your country, in southern Italy, went into a massive explosion this week.
Except I'm from northern Italy, actually France.
Actually, Sicily should be a separate country anyway. Yellowstone scientists said the ground is so warm that parts of the fallen trees have become charcoal. The sides of the fallen trees against the warm ground are baked and blackened. That sounds really
like
calming.
Global freezing.
And parts of the ground have skyrocketed to 198 degrees Fahrenheit or 92 Celsius. That is not good. Now from your country.
Another country.
The Pacific Northwest. Seismic network has detected 4,500 tremors in the past 2 weeks.
Wow.
Deep beneath the Olympic Peninsula, southern Vancouver Island, and another stretch from Eugene, Oregon to the Siskiyou Mountains. I just like saying Siskiyou.
Where are Siskiyous?
In the mountains in Oregon.
In Oregon?
You're from there,
Yeah,
hello.
I didn't know it's Siskiyou Mountains. That sounds like a California thing.
Well, maybe it is. Anyway, it's called an episodic tremor and slip, or a slow slip. I kind of do that every day. Humans can't feel it, but seismologists have discovered this happens along Cascadia's tectonic plate boundary on a regular basis, every 14 months or so. And from the Puget Sound to Oregon and Northern California. The question about the seismic network from the University of Washington is they don't know if this is a precursor to the big one on the Cascadia fault line. There could be a heightened chance that it would be adding stress. We actually worry about that because it's a locked zone.
Well, they should be worrying about that.
And it says we never observed an episodic tremor slip event triggering a major earthquake in our region, and really we've only seen possible shaky evidence towards that in other parts of. So they've seen it in other parts of the world, but not here. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
Because they want to experience that.
Yeah. So if you live in, let's say, mid British Columbia down to Northern California, get the frick out. Seriously. Now, here's another thing for all of you, doom and gloom sayers about the Earth. Here again, NASA, who lies to you all the time. They finally are, because since Trump took over, he's getting rid of a lot of that crap. NASA says that the global wildfires have dropped by 25% since 2003, and Earth's tree cover increased 7% since 1982. So everyone's saying, oh, the Amazon forest is being destroyed, there's no trees left. No. NASA satellites began collecting measurements between 2003 and 2019 that the number of fires has dropped 25% around the world, and that the forests are actually increasing. They said the Great Forest disappearing is completely untrue. More precisely, the tree cover of the planet is increasing since 1982, and over 2.24 million kilometers has roughly 7% increased.
Square kilometers.
Square kilometers. So what do you think of that, Al Gore and Mr. Macron? And finally, until I let you speak, from my homeland, below freezing temperatures in northern regions of European Russia, on August 26, just a few days ago, new daily minimum of minus 1.6 degrees Celsius, so that'd be like 30 Fahrenheit, below freezing, was established on Kolguev Island, beating the previous record of 0.5 degrees set 36 years ago. So 36 years ago, it was warmer than now. Okay? So, and it was pretty cold here this morning. When I opened the door to let the dogs out, it was like, woo, ice blast.
Yeah, that was nice here.
Yeah. So
right.
now you can speak.
No, I don't have a whole lot of stories.
Okay, time's up.
Yeah. But first of all, I want to preface my stories because every once in a while we get a stream of people saying how my stories, are like sensational. But I tell you the trends. And so while they sound sensational today, you give it another few years and this is going to be the norm. And that's why I bring it to your attention, because I want you to watch the trend, not participate in it, so that you can make up your own mind so other people don't make up your mind for you. So I'm going to recommend again that you read The True Reality of Sexuality and 13 Cubes, Case Studies, and Mind Control and Programming. Now that we've got the next two books out and just about got the medical book to the printer, our next goal before the end of the year is to get both of these updated. So if you haven't read these, you want to read these so that you're ready in the queue when the new books come out. So with that said, I'm going to talk about Prince Harry, because this was a kind of a...
Are you just wild about Harry?
I'm just wild about Harry. They're calling him a friend, Jules Roberts, 37 years old, who is said to have taken his own life. Now, Jules Roberts supposedly was the person who trained Harry for the charity trek to the South Pole in 2013. So Jules Roberts to me reminded me of the actress Julia Roberts, right?
Sounds familiar.
Okay. So this happened on August 5th, but it was just now being reported, and then he was cremated.
Because then they had time to write a cover story.
Exactly. Now this next part was very interesting because he was also, which they don't tell you, it's buried in the article, the chief executive of the charity called Share Gift, based in London, and helps to fund the Royals' Heads Together mental health charity. So guess what? Harry, William, Kate, and Meghan all worked together on that campaign, and now the head of it's dead, and Harry and Meghan have split with William and Kate. So isn't that convenient that this person took his own life, right?
Yeah, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either. So this happens all the time with high-level people.
He knows something about Harry.
Yeah, and they call it suicide because it's very convenient. Now the next one, I've been telling you for years about pedophilia, and of course it's in the news everywhere. And I've been telling you that in New World Religion, they want to make that normalized. So I want you to keep that in mind as I tell you about this next story, because I think this next story is like beyond disgusting. There is a man who calls himself a controversial comedian named Dave Chappelle.
Oh, yeah.
And he calls Michael Jackson's accusers in the movie that Netflix put on Liars. And then he said that if they were molested, that they would have been lucky to be molested by the King of Pop.
That is really sick.
Isn't that sick?
That sounds like Bill Mayer.
Yeah. And then he says, listen to this. I mean, it's Michael Jackson. I know more than half the people in this room have been molested in their lives, but it wasn't no goddamn Michael Jackson, was it? This kid got blank blank by the King of Pop.
So that's a good thing.
All we get is awkward Thanksgivings for the rest of our lives. You know how good it must have felt to go to school the next day after that, S-H-I-T.
Okay,
This is comedy.
He needs to get some mental health.
Right. And people are listening. And then this was, to me, even worse. This man, this Dave Chappelle, says that Macaulay Culkin has explicitly stated he was never abused by the singer and never witnessed Jackson molesting anybody else in his presence. So this guy goes on and says, I'm not a pedophile. But if I was, Macaulay Culkin's the first kid I'm blanking with. That's with an F. I'll tell you that right now. So I'm just telling you, this is disgusting things. This is on the news. This is what people are going and listening to. And I guess people are laughing about it, and it's not funny. So, don't support these people. And the next thing, which I've been talking to you about for a long time, is gun control. And I keep bringing this to the forefront because that's not going to go away here in the U.S. So the reason I'm telling you these next two stories, because I keep telling you people are going to kill, people are going to kill. It's not the gun that kills. Gun control will do nothing to help stop the people who really want to kill. So here in Las Vegas, there was a woman who dialed 911 to report a man with a sledgehammer. And long story short, this woman was killed with the sledgehammer before the help could get there. So, sledgehammer kills, okay? Like I've been telling you, they're going to take away our bats, our hammers, our sledgehammers, our knives, whatever.
And you can kill with anything.
With anything. And then right here in Michigan, a doctor, 56 years old, was arrested over a murder-for-hire plot because he was upset because he apparently in his homeowners association, he somehow or another lost a $60,000 lawsuit. I don't know what the details, but my point is he recruited a female patient to poison the attorney who represented the condo association with the powerful opiate fentanyl, which we've been reading about a lot. There was another man, 27 years old, I can't remember who he was, like it was a picture, it was a sports figure that just killed himself with that.
Well, a few months ago.
Yep, and then he also wanted to kill his own attorney, whom he blamed for perceived lack of effort in the suit.
Sounds like a nice guy.
So fentanyl, sledgehammers, and then this other guy supposedly killed himself with the fentanyl. So if people are going to kill, they are going to kill.
That's true.
So that you want to keep in mind. And also, I've been telling you that they're trying to normalize that as well. Now, this next story, you might have an input on this one because I've heard you speak about it before. But it's puzzling to me. This is a trend. And the trend is adult diapers. Adult diapers.
You said you would never tell
When
me.
I had my kids were toilet trained like around 7-8 months old. Now, with paper diapers, and people set out to make a lot of money, they don't train their kids until they're like around 3.
If that.
If that. And to me, that's just horrible. Women had to
Same
wash
with breastfeeding.
diapers.
They breastfeed them until they bite their boobies off. Oh, breasts.
So my point to you is this: why are they bringing adult diapers in? So I just wanted to run through a couple of things with you. So one woman, her name is Shay Mitchell. Apparently, she's a star of a show called Pretty Little Liars. She
should work for CNN.
She told that she was wearing adult diapers at 7 months pregnant because it was so annoying to go to the bathroom all the time. Then there's a whole new project about celebrating the realities of birth. Well, the realities of birth aren't so pleasant. So in my opinion, this is another way to make women who've not had children think, oh my God, do I really want to give birth and go through all this stuff? But amongst that was wearing adult diapers. So then...
there are people who need them.
Yes, but this is now a trend.
Yeah.
And so I happened to look that up, and this is what they said. I want to give my list. These are people who they claim are wearing adult diapers. Guards who must stay on duty and not permitted to leave their posts.
How do they know that?
So they're saying. They're calling them watchman's urinal. People diving in diving suits. pilots on long flights,
Really? I don't believe that.
workers in industries who wear diapers because their bosses deny them toilet breaks
Oh,
during
come
working hours. How can that be?
Maybe in Africa.
Now in Japan, it's well. First of all, let me say China. In 2006, said the diapers are a popular way to avoid long lines for the toilets on railway trains during the Lunar New Year traveling season.
Well,
Get out your diaper. We're going to go on the train,
you have a
right?
billion people waiting in line for a toilet. I can
But I'm
understand
just
that.
telling you. And now here in Japan, they said that market is growing. That in 2008, Japanese manufacturers of adult diapers conducted the world's first all-diaper fashion show. Diapers are something that people don't want to look at, but if you make them attractive, then people can learn about them more easily. And this is the first time that diapers are being considered as fashion. Then in 2010, the Japanese adult diaper market expanded to use them as an alternative fuel source. And then in the fall of 2012, a Japanese magazine called Spa talked about the trend of wearing diapers among Japanese women. And then it goes on to say some people believe diapers are preferable than using a public toilet because they can be dirty, so adults should wear them. Now listen to this. Men's Health magazine, Sean Odom, believes that wearing diapers can help people of all ages to maintain healthy bowel function. And he claims to wear diapers full time for this purported health benefit. Diapers, he says, are nothing other than a more practical and healthy form of underwear. They are a safe and healthy way of living. And then another author, Paul Davidson, argues that it should be socially acceptable for everyone to wear diapers permanently,
Or just a bunch of big babies.
claiming that they provide freedom and remove the unnecessary hassle of going to the toilet.
Wouldn't they be uncomfortable to wear that all the time?
You don't know?
No, I really don't.
Give every person in this world the opportunity to learn, live, grow, and urinate
Especially
and defecate anywhere and anytime without societal pressures to hold themselves in. So what are they doing? Are they trying to turn everybody into big babies, just as you said? I mean, this to me is absolutely bizarro and gets more bizarre. And they're trying again to normalize this for you, which is just, like
That's
I said.
why I think my way is better. I just wear nothing.
Yeah, there you go. It's just in the street. I don't know. But like I said, it's just they go on. And of course, somebody's going to benefit from these diapers that you're supposed to wear now as an adult. So it's just absolutely crazy. And
That's
then
really scary.
It is scary. And then the next thing, which I have talked about before, but because it keeps coming up in the news, and because we're talking about global warming, global cooling, whatever's going on, that scientists in the University of Kiel in Germany are now fitting cows with methane-detecting harnesses to measure the potent greenhouse gas in their flatulence, which is, again, so stupid.
They should put that around Angela Merkel.
They should put it around in everybody in the country.
She has a lot of hot air coming out of
And
her.
they should put it around like the wild animals in the forest. I mean, this is just, as this article even
Ridiculous.
says,
I mean, seriously.
utterly ridiculous.
That's why Germany's going to go bankrupt.
And not only that, how much money are they spending on this kind of things when they could actually be helping people? They could feed them, house them, clothe them, and
Who's
they're doing
putting
this.
the harnesses on a poor cow?
This is just ridiculous. But they keep talking about this. And then the next thing is one of my favorite topics is veganism.
Veganism.
Vegan diets, according to this new study, could lower IQ due to a lack of nutrients
And I've seen
that's
that.
critical to brain health. Yes, we have.
Oh, yes. They are dumb as a stump.
The plant-based diet risks include choline, and that's found in meat, fish, and eggs. It's particularly important in pregnancy. And there is a this was a study done in the UK, that 21% of the UK households have reduced their meat intake in the past 2
Yeah,
years.
they're kind of dopey enough to begin
And
with.
then 10% of households include what's now being called a flexitarian or a part-time vegetarian/vegan. So now you can be a flexitarian. So that's still silly.
They just come up with words.
In the UK, they're claiming 3.5 million people are vegan. And it's so
That explains a lot.
yeah, and it's so popular that mothers are choosing to make their babies vegans.
Yeah, did you read that? The babies who are from vegan parents and they have very bad bones and
Everything.
organs and they're very weak.
Yes, and it says that
They
here
don't grow big.
that for babies they get with a plant-based diet. They are lacking in vitamin B12, which is found in milk and eggs, as well as iron, calcium, and zinc. So vitamin B12 deficiency is a treatable, it's a rare, but it's treatable if it's caught. failure to thrive, and delayed development in infants. It can also lead to malnutrition and irreversible damage to their nervous system.
Right, and we've seen that too.
Yes, an iron deficiency can hinder a child from gaining weight, affect their appetite and energy, and can lead to anemia, which can be life-threatening, especially for a child.
It is life-threatening.
In severe cases. Then it says consuming too little protein can lead to stunted growth, and adding too much fiber can make children feel full quicker and stop them from getting enough food. They need a lot of calories when they're growing. So anyway, again, you'd be really cautious. As we've talked about, sometimes diets are okay for a little bit of time for a healing reason.
Right.
But then
or
beyond
cleansing and
things like that. But then beyond that, you
And then
need
you
a
go back to what you're
balanced
supposed
diet.
to have.
Exactly. So, and then in Australia. In
oh,
Australia,
Brainiac country.
they can now say, most of them, whether they are a boy when they are born legally, a girl, because they now have what's called choose your own birth certificate.
Oh my gosh.
That's like, how confusing can this be for people, really? So they said that transgender people aren't required to undergo surgery to change the documents. It used to be they would have to undergo surgery.
Or just check all the above.
So now it says that children can change their gender, but they do one thing at least, thank God, they have to have parent and doctor approval, except then they could be, considered abuse or something if they don't go along with it. But it says, these are all new words to me. So children will be able to self-nominate. Okay, self-nominate.
Because they'll understand what to do.
Self-nominate to change their gender or select a non-binary descriptor, which that could be.
I don't like
know.
that term.
I don't even.
It sounds like a computer.
Well, that's what they're trying to turn people into. But what's a descriptor? A non-binary descriptor?
Are you a non-binary or are you a cisgender?
I don't know.
I have no idea what that means.
So anyway, it says the current surgery requirement sends a painful and false message that there is something wrong with being trans or gender diverse.
Yeah.
That needs to be fixed, and that's why we're removing this cruel and unfair barrier. What you were born with is what you were born
look
with.
between your legs.
So,
And that's what you
and like I said, there are a few people, which we've talked about, who are intersex, who they can't tell even when they
But that's
examine their
such
chromosomes.
a tiny percentage.
Very small. So if you're born with a certain body, like I've told you before, there's nothing wrong with exploring who and what you are, because sexuality is a spectrum, which we've talked about here in the back of our book. I have a nice little chart in here about that. But you don't need to go to surgery, and you don't need to be changing your birth certificate, and there's lots of things you don't need to be doing that the agenda is out there promoting. So
if you
learn
don't
to
need
think
a diaper,
for yourself.
don't wear one.
Don't wear a diaper, please.
You know?
Okay, basic work. Okay, this is Basic 101, Universal Law. You need your foundations in place. This book, Hyperspace Helper, is excellent exercises. So these two books combined will give you a great foundation, hyperspace oversoul work, so you can take control of your own mind before other people take care of it for you. Get these two in combination. They will help you. Okay?
Now, the September class, just
I think we
couple
might have
weeks.
maybe one place now.
Maybe.
If you have a friend, we might
could
be willing to
squeeze in maybe
squeeze.
two.
But basically one is what we have
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
2 weeks to go.
And it's going to be a doozy class.
Yes, and remember, you can pre-order your books, King Bee, Queen Bee, and Template of God Mind, which this book kind of follows, and those books should be available here at the class.
In fact, it's such an intense class. I'm not giving breaks. They may have to wear diapers.
Maybe we should just get a box and pass them
Maybe
out,
try,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
And then
good.
the webinars will also be starting.
Yes,
in
we're looking
September.
at dates on those now.
And you just mentioned a couple of our new books.
Yes?
But I don't think you mentioned the medical book, which is
No.
just about done.
Well, it is.
You did finish. You finished.
It's finished editing.
Yeah.
Now it goes to the layout person.
Right? And so that's going to be out
First of the
soon.
week.
After 15 years.
Yeah, so.
It's going to be out.
So that one's on its way. And then, like I mentioned to you, then our next is we're going to update these two books. So that our goal is to get these updates of these out before the end of the year. So we have a lot of projects that we've been busy working on.
And exciting, which I'm going to mention it here,
Mm-hmm.
because I was contacted this week by Jordanian filmmakers.
You know, actually, we were contacted a while ago. But
Yeah, and apparently they've been following my work for years. People follow, I don't know, even know.
decades.
Yeah, from weird places. So anyway, they're Jordanian filmmakers, and they're very well known in the Middle East. And they asked me in October to come to Jordan and Egypt to film a documentary about peace between the Israelis and the Arab people. These Jordanians and Egyptians and so on believe as I believe.
Me too.
And as you, and they understand about what Islam is doing, and they are not followers of those things, even though they are Muslim. And they want to change the Middle East, and they actually want to do my work and me to teach classes in Amman and in Egypt to teach hyperspace as a method of peace between all the peoples in the Middle East. So I was quite shocked and even honored that they would ask me to do that. And then when I mentioned this to my people in Turkey, they please asked me to come back to Istanbul and Ankara and all these. I'm like, well, I just don't know what I can do, but that's always a possibility because the media in Turkey is also very interested in my work. So a lot of things going on, and we had a fabulous webinar with Quito in Latin America. We'll be doing that every single month, and in English and Spanish, and bringing expansions work across Latin America, from Mexico to Chile and even to Spain.
Yeah, but what's interesting, we had a lot of people who were not from Latin America that joined that webinar.
Because it was also
because
in
it's English as well.
Yes.
So if Spanish is not your first language, and if you understand, of course, great. But if you speak English or Spanish, you can certainly join these webinars.
And you can go to our Hispanic website, hiperespacio.com.
Yeah, I'll put that on the links because I don't think we usually include that.
And all my work is being translated into Espanol.
Yeah. So we have lots of exciting things going as always.
And plus the Russian television, they want to do a documentary. I mean, a lot of things going on globally.
Yeah. So with that said, we want to thank you. Remember, please, one last thing. You've got to share our YouTube videos because we have people saying even they try to share the YouTube videos, they have issues with that. Sharing on Facebook, they have issues. Usually the minute we post anymore, it comes right back saying limited audience.
Copy the link and send it to whomever you wish.
Yeah,
just copy the link and circumvent the censorship.
Yeah, but do your best to get our information out. Hyperspace oversoul work is extremely important at this time.
Yeah.
So
Yes, and it will now. I am very excited and even overwhelmed to be asked to help with peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, we want peace in the world. Remember my CD? You can get the free download of Peace in the World CD.
You think that Elon would want to?
I doubt if she
She'll be
would.
so jealous.
Yeah, maybe our people in Jordan and
Egypt.
In might
Turkey.
be interested in it. So anyway, with that said, remember expansions.com. Get your membership, sign up right away, and get your new books. We have actually a special combo price for members. So that pays for your membership, what you save. So get that as well. Expansions.com. Until next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.